Hello all. Hello. In this video I'm going to take apart an old DVD recorder, or DVD player as well. It's got a bit of a hard drive inside it as well apparently. My mate, she was getting rid of it. She took the hard drive out and just left me the rest of the device to take apart because she knows that I do videos regarding taking equipment apart like TVs, stereos, DVD players, microwaves, etc. I've done a few videos already on my channel and in this one I'm going to take apart this DVD player device. I'll show you what it looks like. So this is the it's a debut DVD recorder. That's the model and the specifications, etc. before I take it to pieces. I'll show you the underside first. This is the rear back cover where all the connections are made. So there's probably going to be quite a bit inside this one actually. So I'm just showing you what it looks like before I'll be taken apart beyond recognition by the time I'm finished with it. So I thought I would just show you that there. So as usual, if you've seen this type of video before of mine, I will take it out to the back edge, get the table out, the pasting table out, the toolbox, and I'll start taking it to pieces. Now bear in mind, it'll be getting thrown out anyway. It was destined for the skip anyway, so it doesn't work. I take them apart to see what's inside them, and I share it with those that would like to also see inside it, that are like-minded, that are interested to see just what's inside. I'm not an electrical engineer, so I just give you my knowledge of what I understand of how the components and stuff work that's inside there. My dad's an electrician, but he's fixing the car at the moment, so he's busy with his car getting that sorted. So I might have to run back and forward to get tools and stuff because he's got the toolbox, but I'm sure I'll manage to get the basic tools first. Phillips screwdriver probably. I could get right into the guts of that device. Okay, so I'll get all this up to the backs. And just so you, in case you're wondering as well, if you haven't seen this type of video, the reason I take these electrical devices and stuff like that outside is because it's more uniformly lit. You get problems with shadows when you're filming inside because the intricate bits are all inside the casing and you get shadow problems. It doesn't disturb others in the house, and it also keeps the house tidy, so I could just do it, break it to bits out the backs. Right, so I'm going to get that task done now. Okay, right, I'm going away to start taking this thing apart now. I've got the toolbox with me and I'm just going to get into the guts of it. So the first thing I need to do is find out the size of screws that's required to get the bottom off it for a start, or the top cover off, however it comes apart. So there's a Phillips screw there, it's a blank there. Now the mates been in this to get the hard drive out, so it's just been the screws should be fairly easy to remove. So it's a Phillips screwdriver required to get this top cover off in this instance. Well, that one was nice and easy. It was actually quite slack as it was. As I say, it's been off already, this cover, recently. So other screws here at the back that need to be slackened off. As I look at this, it's that one, because these ones there are for holding the board to the back of these components to the back, but it's that one there that needs to come off to get the top lid off. So they just come out quite easily, these slackened them. Just the first time, let's wait to come off. Well, for the first time in this video. To reveal, not an awful lot, it's all microchipped. It's not like the old 80s and 90s where there was loads and loads of wires and circuit boards. It's all integrated now with microchips and all these. It's all compressed into, motherboard chips and everything. That'll be your mains power supply going on. There's a wee cooling motor in there as well. That'll be a transistor, an amplifier, because there's a heatsink here. I think that's used for amplification. These transistors with this aluminium heatsink to dissipate the heat. Obviously gets very hot. I'm guessing this will be like a tuning circuit perhaps. I'm not sure. That's maybe the tuning circuit there because it's encased in this silver reflective shielding to stop interference. That's your aerials and stuff, so auxiliary and antenna in, antenna out, so that's for signals, it's encased in there. But I'll break into that later, and that'll be for the SCART, so again that's shielded with this aluminium stuff. I guess this is where perhaps where the hard drive was. I'm not sure just about all the functions on this, but that's the platter for the DVD, which I'll get into as well later. So I'm going to take this off and see what's under here. I don't think there's much, but I'm going to remove this bit first. Again, Phillips screwdriver required, and it looks as though it's on a kind of rubber mount. So it's whatever it is. I'm guessing it will be something to do with the hard drive because it's fragile. The hard drive will maybe sit on here because these rubber mounts will absorb any vibration because the hard drive is quite, you don't want it getting any subjected to any shocks, vibration shocks from any impacts and just bumping into the. So these rubber things will absorb any vibration, like if there's been if something hits or bumps into the DVD player or whatever, it just cushions any shocks, not electrical shocks, but any mechanical strikes, vibrations, knocks, things like that. It just keeps it kind of cushioned. I'm assuming that's what these rubber mountings. It's like well, not engine mounting, but it's a rubber mount. So yeah, not much under there. I'm guessing that would be something to do with the hard drive. So that's that removed. Next thing I'm going to do is remove the circuitry. These circuit boards are held in with a Phillips screwdriver. 4 of them by the looks of it, 4 screws, 1 at each corner. There is a spade, a ribbon connector for these wires that I'm going to detach as well in order to disconnect the circuit. I've got snips to break the cable ties as well to get into it. So I've slackened all these off. I'm doing it filming at the same time, so it's not quite so easy. I'm just going to do my best here. So that's that. There's the cable that came off under that screw. Maybe not. Not quite sure what that is. Quite sure what that is. My dad's busy sorting the car, so I'm not going to disturb him just now. I'd normally just ask my dad what it is because he's an electrical engineer, he knows his stuff, like. But I just guess what it's. Just use my limited knowledge on it. I need to pull out what's to do. It's difficult to do it one-handed because I need 2 hands for this one. It just pulls out. It's just a multi-connector. Oh, there's another one. So that's the circuit board removed. I don't quite know what the circuit board does. I don't know what this particular one is about, but I guess that'll be the main processor. That's the date, I'm guessing, 7th of July 2006. It's quite old. So there's part numbers that might give you an idea as to what it does, but certainly an important board. Important circuit board is some of the wiring harness that just unhooks off of the board. I'm going to next, that's a ribbon wire, another ribbon wire which is connected to the front. I might actually remove these circuit boards, then I'll get onto the front and do that bit last perhaps. One thing I noticed when I was taking it apart, the first thing I noticed was how little there was, how small components have been compressed into. I remember back in the 80s and everything when my dad used to take things apart to repair them. I used to watch him repair things, and the circuits, there was things inside, there was big transformers, circuits, wires, big capacitors, all sorts of things, interesting things to look at. But nowadays the electronics, well that's actually quite old, if it's 2006 so it's a fair age, but certainly after the millennium and then probably from the mid to late 90s, the things have just got smaller and smaller. The circuit boards and the microchips and microprocessors take away all the need for all the big transistors and big circuitries and all the wires that were there before and the early stuff. If you went back to the 60s, it would be valves and things. You'd have big valves. It would be much bigger as well. So as the years go on, things get smaller as technology increases. That was just a sort of an observation that I was making there when first thing it struck me. I was kind of not overly surprised. There's a lot of things, a lot of functions that it does, but it's all miniaturised now. It's all in the microchip, and that's where everything, that's how technology advances it. So let's get these disconnected as well. I need 2 hands for this one. I think I will. That won't actually come off. That's fixed to the board, soldered on at the bottom. This is the plug bit that removes. That came off of this board, the neighbouring board. So that doesn't come off there, it comes off at the opposite end. But that board is now fixed on to the back of these remaining screws, which also hold these connectors, the SCART and the antenna connectors, and also the audio out and all that stuff. So the back end of it is fixed to the circuit. That'll slide through, but there's a couple of screws that need to come out first before I can remove that circuit board. It's just about all. It's slacking these screws, is that one there, and this board's just about ready to fall out the back. That's it, just removed from the back plate, and you can see where all the corresponding bits go. It would just go in simply like that. That's where they fit through. That's how they come out. And you can see a view of it like that. As I say, I'll break into these later. I'll put all these things into a neat order on the table and get photo shots of them and sort of go through them, explain through them. Let's get this all disassembled. So the next one I'm going to take apart is this circuit board. This will be the high voltage side, I guess, with the mains lead that goes in. This one's got a cooling fan. That disconnects from there. That cooling fan's fixed to the back with these 2 bigger Phillips screws. It's to help cool this transformer. And I mean, this will probably all get warm as it's been when it's in use. So there's heat coming off of this heat sink, so it'll suck the air in from outside, blow it through, and that will expel the air, the warm air from another vent somewhere. But anyway, I'm going to get this circuit board out. To do that, it's Phillips screws again at each corner, 4 of them. It even looks like that was designed in the manufacturing process, just to put a screwdriver down to assemble it, and the same on the other side. See, there was more hand assembly work done in the earlier days. I think this is 2006, going by the date on here anyway. So there was more labour to actually build things, whereas I think as technology goes on, it's all robotic now, is it? It takes away the need for labour and job losses, which is not a thing I like to hear. So that's an issue with that. But anyway, and just it's like when the build cars, it's all robotic. More and more robots do the jobs. But I think anyway that's why that wee sort of space is there to allow for the screwdriver to go in when it's been manually built in the factory. I used to work in a factory that did telspec telecommunications. dealt with circuit boards and stuff. I went on a production line and just added the components as it went down the line. I handle these things with furry bags and all the rest of it was static. But anyway, besides that, that's the main cord. I think that just plugs into the board. Yeah, it's just a mains. This is like a spade connector. That's got to be in really good because that's where the mains voltage comes in. So it's got to be a firm fit. And like this, that's your mains voltage, 240 volts. That's quite a substantial connector. That's the mains cord. Disassembled from the circuit board. And that's that rear circuit board was the power transformer. It's smaller than what they used to be, these transformers. The earlier models used to be a lot bigger. 80s and 70s models. Shut up. Put the solder on the rear of it. That's the specifications and stuff. So the cooling fan, I could probably get that off as well. There's two big heavy Phillips screws at the bottom. That will just drop out the bottom. And there it is, that's the cooling fan. Evidently being used because all the dust, you could see it congregates on the blades. Sucks in the air from the back, that vent. I don't know if there would have been a filter. I don't know if there was a filter ever there. So we're certainly getting on with it. I'm going in the mill. That's the DVD drive assembly. I'll get into that last. I'm going to remove the front with the buttons and controls. It's fitted on there with these that they pry up once the screws are out. So you pry these up, but you've got to remove the Phillips screws. Well, that one and certainly that one. At least two before this front panel comes off. So it's just a case of unscrewing that. It's all been Phillips screws so far. Just makes the job nice and easy. This one screwdriver has took this thing apart so far. Just this screwdriver's done all this work, done all that. So it's nice and straightforward to disassemble. There's something that's still holding this on. I've took the screws off. I've took away I've pried these clips apart. Now there is something holding it on still, and I think it may be something to do with the DVD drive system. But at worst comes to worst, I'll just force it off because, as I say, this thing's going in the skip anyway. But there is obviously something prevented it to come off. I'll figure out how I'm going to get it off, but it's coming off, sure, that's for definite. It will be removed, that I can assure you. So like I say, there is procedures to remove these components and stuff. I don't have the correct tools, so I just use whatever, because as I say, it's just going in the bin anyway. But to get into all the intricate parts, I haven't got the instruction manuals, the service manuals or anything. I just make it up as I go along. If a bit doesn't come off, I'll just wrench it off. I'll get it off one way or another. So that's how it's done. A friend with me, big flat screwdriver that always comes in handy for a little bit of gentle persuasion, and a little hammer as well. I was just waiting, should I need it? If I don't get this off with too much difficulty, because I'm not going to fiddle about with it, I'm just going to make use of these. Okay, that's the front bit off. A little bit of leverage required, but that's it off. I didn't really break an awful lot in the process, if anything. I just needed a little bit of wee bit of force. That hook and hook there, I think that's what was sort of like impeding it from coming off. There was a resistance getting it off, and I think that was the culprits that were tucked into the metal chassis of the DVD player. And it's strip wire, it's powered into this whole digital display, and your buttons are connected to it, which will just go right into the board directly. I will of course remove the circuit board. I think I showed you that, haven't I? This is the door platter, the DVD, obviously the mechanical device on the other side will This will obviously push into that flap and allow the DVD platter to come out. But that's it removed. This is just a panel. So the front panel's off. I'm going away to now take out the circuit board for the switches and display. And for that, I require the help of the Phillips screwdriver yet again. So there's these screws to come out. Blacking them all off, I've took this last screw out. Now, that's the circuit board free to come off. There's the digital display. I'll break into that as well, perhaps later. Probably liquid crystal, I'll break into that. That'll be the display board, the sort of screen to cover this up, because it kind of fits in like such. These are the corresponding buttons. So when you press these, pushing through these push rods, that's the push rod there. You see it moving. That there is just on the other side of these buttons. So when you press them, effectively they push rods. I'm going to push into the actual buttons on the circuit board, which is them. These wee, that's the micro buttons that are actually on the circuit board. And when they come into contact, the plastic bits come into contact with them when you press these buttons with your finger. That's how it works, and it'll be similar with them as well, but it's just a similar setup as well. And that's a display cover. Yeah, I'll show you the other side. It's a kind of like a reddish colour that'll make the display appear. They give it that red colour, you could kind of see it, how it's a kind of purpley colour to give it the desired colour they want. So that's the front panel removed, front panel circuit board removed with the display. I'll keep that aside, I will break into that later, I'll still break into these other things as well later, but I'll remove this circuit board as well off the front panel, so it's tucked in. That would have been, oh yeah, that would have been there, that opens. Put this down a minute. This little flap here opens, I forgot about that, and that's what corresponds with those there. So that will just balance for a minute. Obviously it won't, so I'll try again. That goes on like such. So you can see how it kind of corresponds, and that flap lid will just cover it. So you open that, which exposes those connectors, which is on the circuit board there. So in order to remove this circuit board, it's 2 Phillips screws, one at each side. Screws slackened and removed, which will allow the circuit board to come off of the front panel, by the front chassis. And that's just the connector. I think that may be fixed on, I'm not sure. That wiring connector's fixed onto the board. Probably is, and that'll be the connecting end. That'll be the one unit. And that's the other side of the board. So like I say, I'll get all that put into an order, and I'll separate them into a separate, nice, orderly fashion on this pacing table, and I'll get pictures, go around it with the video individually later on. Before I do, time to remove this DVD setup. This is the mechanical parts. It's got gears and stuff inside there, in order, because there is mechanical movement. The disc's got to spin, and the door has got to open, etc. The platter's got to remove. This this multi-connector ribbon lead. This is just simply plugs into the back of this unit. And you can see all the pins in the back. That's obviously with the main power unit, I would think, for the heavier duty wires. I would think that too just comes out. Yeah, there's a heavier connector, so it'll have more. It'll have more electricity, more voltage. It'll be higher current, like I said. That'll probably drive the motors, the mechanical side of things. And this will be for the electronic side of things, the signals from the disc. So that's lighter grade wires. That's more the electronic sort of with your signals and stuff, the brains that goes into the microprocessor, this ribbon wire. This heavier duty wire is the power that will power it up. It's got to drive the motor to spin the disc, and it's got to drive the gears in order to open the drawer in this platter where the DVD comes in. So it's got mechanical work to do, requires more current, so heavier wires, heavier connector. That just connects into the back, connects in with these 4 heavier pins. There you go. These for the power going in, and the finer pins there will be for your electronics, the signals. That's your power in, that's your signals and stuff that come off the disc. So I'm going to remove this now. To get that off the chassis, this is regarded as chassis, the metal, the main structure. It requires a smaller Phillips screwdriver. This screwdriver here I've got is quite good. It's sharp and it's able to remove these small screws. But for such a big component, I thought it would have been heavier screws. And sure, there'll be some vibrating pads or something, because that thing spins and it's got to be accurate. There's a laser in there, I would imagine, for being a disk drive. It'll be accurate, so it's got to be spinning on of absorbers and stuff to dampen out any vibrations. So this is actually, I need 2 hands for this. I'm going to have to put this phone down. It wasn't too difficult. Just these 4 screws, that was all. Just 4 small screws really. Bigger screws hold the circuit boards in. I think these screws also hold this very fine metal aluminium cover as well. So I'm going to get right into that. I'll take this out of the chassis. I want to hold this chassis out of the base kit. That's really it. That's basically where all the screws are mounted. That's the main chassis of the unit, the DVD player, DVD recorder. That's what holds everything together. That's regarded as the chassis. It's made out of probably galvanized steel or something. But this will be aluminium, I'm guessing. It's lightweight. Right, I'm going to get this cover off, so I'm going to have to think how I'm going to do that. Just to show you underneath, by the way. It's quite interesting, so I'm quite excited to see in this one. So I'm actually quite excited to see inside the DVD device, in here. It's quite interesting. It's the sort of feeling I used to get when I watched my dad repairing things. I always used to, he'd done homers as well. He was working, but sometimes he would do homers free time and whatnot, and somebody would, like if somebody's TV broke down or something, my dad would go and repair it. I'd always like to go with him to see it getting repaired, to see inside it. I was always excited to see it. Inside all sorts of things, hi-fi, stereo systems, washing machines, cars especially. So that excitement never goes away. I actually used to build models when I was at, well, that was in primary 1986, 1987, primary 6, primary 7. I used to build, and maybe a bit before that, I used to build paper models. I used to build my own circuit boards and use all sorts of things just to imitate circuitry. And I used to just pretend that they worked. I used to build all the wires and transformers in and stuff. It's fascinating things. So as I say, I hope this kind of like-minded people will be interested to see what's inside this. So I'm going to take the lid off and I'll get in it one way or another. Okay, so I'm going to remove these screws off there completely, and I think that's will allow this lightweight cover to come off. It's quite light, you can see it flexing. So these wee little fine black screws that overlap. So that cover is, the bits at the bottom of that cover overlap with this bottom cover, and it interlaces with it, and it's held together with these wee screws at the bottom, which have got to also be removed in order to get that apart. So it's kind of sandwiched. So there's 4 of them. There's that one, and then there's that little one. So they're small screws probably because this is quite a complex piece of equipment, and they don't have any room to use bigger screws, so they use the small lightweight screws. That's the bottom bit off. It's just aluminium, very light. It's easily bent, it's fragile, very thin. That's all the wee bits. That'll be the motor. At the top bit, which will them off just by you need to use both hands for this. Let's put this phone down a minute. Right, so I've got this top cover off, and it's still keeping its secrets from me. It's still hiding its secrets. This is interesting though, but I'll read it first of all. So, caution, obviously when it's switched on there'll be a laser's radiation in there, so be careful what you're doing. But there's no power in it, so there's 4 screws yet again to come off. This will all be encased in this composite plastic because it's all accurately defined. It's fine tuned. That's spinning at a very high speed and everything's got to be accurate, and so it's well precisionally put together, and it's quite sturdy because you don't want any bumps to upset it. It's got to be tucked in there and kept encased in there really well. So I'm going to these screws are actually quite fine, but still this is a good sharp screwdriver and it's getting them off. See, they get really small, these screws. They get smaller than these other ones that came off, these ones. And this is the sharp screwdriver, so I'm able to get a good point on it. So it's able to get these off. No, I've not lifted the lid off yet. So, the suspense is killing me. Time to lift that lid off and see what's in there. Right, so that'll be it for this part. We'll wait another year till next part. Seeing it. Don't be silly, I wouldn't keep you in suspense. Just hope this video feed doesn't break. Right, I'm going to get that cover off and I'm going to just see what's inside there, and I hope you're excited to see what's inside there as well, because of that, because I am. So let's have a look. Right, okay, let's get this off. Right, there we go, that's the... Ah no, what's this all about? Is that the hub? Well, that's sort of like a nylon... That's maybe like a... acting as a bearing, perhaps. It's interesting looking. I don't know why. Maybe something to do with the rotation. It's that centre bit there. It's magnetic as well, look. Ah, right. See that? It's magnetic. See that? It's magnetic. So, now, this here must be the bit that the DVD goes on. That bit there, it's magnetic, must correspond. I think that magnet must be there to help, you know, to hold. So any motion, when this is spinning at high speed, any motion, this magnet will maybe keep itself centred, perhaps, because there's movement there, and the magnet will keep that there in line with there. Maybe that's what it's magnetic for. Again, my dad's busy. He would know for sure. But I'm guessing that's what it may be. This is a bit that will spin. That's the laser bit. You wouldn't look at that because, and it's magnetic. I'll try and prove it to you. Well, these screws aren't magnetic, but trust me, that's actually... I can't really demonstrate how I'm going to do that, but I can maybe do it that way. Look, you can see it kind of like... It's magnetic anyway. So I think that's the laser, the optical bit there. So I'll try and zoom in a bit closer to you so I can get it on. It seems to be like a bluish colour, the lens, but now you'd never look at that with your naked eye, because like it says on the here, like it says, you know, you've got to... It's a class 3B visible and invisible laser radiation when opened. Avoid direct exposure to the beam. Right, so these will be the mechanical rods and stuff that will do this tray. That'll be the push rams for the tray. Now to get into there, I don't really know how I'm going to manage it. I'm like breaking into it. There's a Phillips screw to get this circuit off. Maybe you could start by taking this off. I don't know what it's going to do. There's a couple of locking tabs there as well, as you can see, that need to be pried off, or pried apart to get this board out. Get in there. Everything will be tightly packed because any vibrations will cause problems. So everything's got to be, because there's mechanical movement in there. So all these bits will be stuck down well. off, I pressed on that wee tab there. There's locking dowels. These locking dowels correspond with the holes on the circuit board that keeps it firmly in place, and that wee locking tab, I just pry back a little bit with the small flat screwdriver. There's no need to break anything to get that off. Very fine wires. That'll be the main motor for the turning, or that might be the motor for the rams actually, I don't know which. I'm not quite sure, but that's a motor, I know that. I think that's the main turntable motor there, and that motor might be for the operating the gears. There'll be gears in there to operate this ram system in order to get the drawer out for the DVD to be put in on the DVD, put the DVD on, and I think that's the motor for that. But this might be a flywheel. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I don't know about that motor. That might still be it, I'm not sure. But this is probably a heavy flywheel to keep the momentum, keep it at an accurate speed. So any power fluctuations, it doesn't cause a drop in RPM because the flywheel will maintain the motion. So I'm going to remove the circuit board. Again, I think there's locking tabs and dowels. That's the dowels, that's locking tabs. Will need to be a locking tab there actually. Can probably get that off without a screwdriver. Yep, I can in fact. The other end just slips under there. Just lift up that wee locking tab. I lifted it upwards, lifted it at that end, and this other end just slips under that. So, and it's ribbon wires that are connected. I don't think they come apart. This will be a non-serviceable part because these wires are all soldered on. I can't afford to have the wires coming off. I think it's just for it takes up less room and it's more accurate when they solder them on and they make it a complex, probably a non-serviceable unit. Specialist job to very fine screws on there. This screwdriver has beat this screwdriver. That's the motor, I think. Actually, I'm going to get this circuit board. I might just snip these wires off first and get this circuit boards out the roads and have a look at them as well. I had a wee plug connector on the end. I didn't spot that. Unfortunately, I went a bit too keen with the snips. It doesn't really matter, but I've left wires out there. Not I'm going to use it anyway, but never mind. I was cutting them because these are soldered, so I wasn't bothered, but it wasn't necessary to cut them, but it's, well, who cares? Let's go in there anyway. It's not going to be used again. Now there's like a suspension system on here as well, so there's a lot of springs somewhere amongst. This is the mechanism bit. That's like a worm gear. That'll be probably for to open the drawer, which is turned with this little motor. So there's a small motor there with a printed circuit board on it. So there's quite a lot in this little device. It's quite a complex bit. There's at least 3 motors. I assume that's the main drive motor. I don't quite know. So I'm going to have to see, to get into the circuits, the gears, you can now tell that's magnet, by the way. These screws are magnetic, they've got iron in them and they're stuck to it. So there's a magnet in there. I'm not quite sure what it does, but this looks like it's all held together now by moulded plastic. And the drawer won't open. It's like a one-way set of gears. It needs to be driven, the drawer needs to be driven out. In fact, there you go. You can see what's happening now when I do this. So the drawer rams are, get in the way, try and show you. It's not easy doing this bit because I'm filming as well, but you can see when I turn that gear what's happening. That will be it's going along these rails, the 2 metal rails, which ensure will have something to do with the platter. I'm not quite sure why it's not coming out, or is it? Maybe it was. I was not looking at this. It's actually done. In fact, I think it was. Oh, well, it isn't. Not quite sure. This is the gear rail along there, where it's. That's something to do with the door mechanism, but it doesn't seem to be. It might only work if other things are turning as well. So that might actually be, now that I think on it, That's just paper thin. That's maybe for the laser guide. That's nothing to do with the drawer opening from the front, the actual tray. That's for the laser. So when the DVD's playing, it'll scan. That's what it is. So this thing will move on these rails. This laser will read the disc, and it'll move from the centre, you know, the outside of the disc to the inside of the disc, and it'll run along this rail, which is, and it's driven by this motor using this worm, like a drill or a worm gear, I think it's called. I'm not quite sure what you call it. Worm gear, isn't it? So you can see it working there. That's to actually, that wee motor there is to move the laser device. That's the laser setup there. It's very intricate, as you can tell. Very intricate. And that will move from the inside to the outside of the disc, from the centre to the outside, and the outside to the inside of the disc. That disc will spin on there. And that is the actual motor, because you can see the coils of wire. So there'll be probably a bit of weight on that turntable. That'll be the flywheel or something, just so it does all the spinning. I could try and get that apart, I don't know. The gears for the drawer must be driven off of this end, and there'll be gears set up in there that will cause this drawer to open out. You won't be able to pull it out because you're kind of like going against the teeth. It's got to be driven out with power from the mechanism. You can't pull it past these teeth, otherwise you'll break the thing. So it's driven out. The actual drawer for putting the disc on is driven out. I'm going to try and get into this anyway. I'm going to try and disassemble these and just take it all apart. And on the inside of this, I don't know if I showed you that. No, not really. I showed you that, didn't I? That was the magnet bit, the circuit board. I showed you that. So I'm going to just take all these screws out and just see if we can get into even more of this. I've removed these very fine screws, and it's basically that's the motor assembly that does the spinning for the DVD. I've took it off with the 3 mounting screws. That's the mounting plate there, that's the motor. That's the assembly. I'm going to actually see if we can get these wee screws off as well. Find a screwdriver small enough to get into these tiny wee screws. I don't have a precision set that I'm aware of. I don't have one at hand anyway. But I don't think it would reveal an awful lot. It'd probably just reveal the coils. I could of course resort to a bit of brute force and try and wrench a wee bit off just to see a bit more inside there. Okay, I've managed to break into it. Again, a little help with my screwdriver and hammer. I just pried it open and broke into it. So now I didn't have a screwdriver, so that's basically what's on the other side of that circuit board. That's just as I thought, a lot of coils of wires. That's what will power the motor. Permanent magnet as well. So that bit there, that's the motor shaft. And I think it's a brass bearing. Actually, I don't know if it's a good idea to touch any of that stuff. I'm not quite sure if that's wise. No, I better not. I don't want to make too much hand contact with that, because it's maybe not wise to do it. I'm going to just avoid. In fact, I'm going to just probably give my hands a wash now after I've done that. I'm not quite sure what that material is, but I'm going to wash my hands now and then I'll come back to it. Right, so I've washed my hands because this wasn't quite sure just what that stuff does, and I'm going to try and avoid handling that for now. So I think now I'm going to well, I don't really have a plan. See if we can maybe get some of these screws off and just, again, I don't think the screwdriver, no it isn't, it's just wrong in it. These have got Loctite on it. They've got to be very tight anyway, and very accurate. It's a non-serviceable part, a specialist job. So to get into this plastic, I don't really have any other way unless the side bits come off. Do these side bits, do they come off perhaps? If I could try wrenching the sides off, see if that'll get this plastic. It's got to be assembled somehow, isn't it? So we'll just have to figure out how I'm going to do that. But if worst comes to worst, I'll just have to use the get my two mates on the case. I'll get into it, and I'm going to see what's in there, one way or another. Right, so I've managed to get this the tray off. This is the runners that the tray runs on. You can see I've had to just basically break a bit of it off and leave a wee bit on. You can see how it slides up and down the runners. I broke it off this side, the right hand side, and I've kept it on this side. You can see, well, not very well, but there is grease there, obviously, to allow it. There's nylon and but there's certainly it's got to be greased because there's actual mechanical movement going on there. Just slide out like such. You can see the runners on that side. The other side is I've lifted it off to get in. I had to use a little bit of force, but I got it off anyway. So you can see, well, you were a minute ago video, you can see how it kind of, how it works, to a degree anyway. Gives you a better idea, I hope. So with the tray removed, this is showing the underside, the funnel rails for the laser, which is showed you earlier, the gear at the bottom, the one gear, but it's driven by this motor that allows the laser to move and read the disc and record onto it as well, I presume. This is the actual teeth on the side, which will correspond with obviously there has to be a gear somewhere, probably this gear maybe. You can see how the gears work. Well, you can see how these are meshing together. So there's a wee belt there as well. Let's see if I could highlight that for you. There's a wee little belt system there. Quite complex, quite complex. Not quite sure. So there is obviously something that will connect up to that to cause it to move. Oh, I've seen where it is yet. Maybe on the other side. Not quite sure yet. Little belt. I'll remove that anyway. That's just what it looks like now with the belt off. The nylon gears. I think they're made of nylon. Oh, right, you can see the actual. That must be like the locking system. I don't know if I could demonstrate that very well, but. You see it lifting the actual plier. It runs on these runners. It elevates. You see how it elevates on there. That obviously lifts and drops and locks in position. So there is. That's what will lift it. The runners will run on these elevators there. That will cause it to lift because it will slide along and it will slide down and up correspondingly. You could see what's happening. And it's a hinge here as well, which will allow it to pivot on, I guess. It's not so easy to demonstrate and film this at the same time. It's really difficult to do this at the same time, to be honest with you, but I do my best. I'm using my left hand when I'm right-handed for a start, which is not very handy because I'm holding the camera with my right hand. I'm trying my best to show you this in demonstration. I'm not doing such a good. I'm trying my best, but anyway, I can't really. I've lost where it is now. Right, there we go. There's a bit better. That's on the other side now. So I'm just turning that gear. That would have been belt driven. Well, there is a belt that was on one of the gears anyway. So it's no, it must have come off contact. I think it maybe on slack in the gear. Anyway, I'm not going to get hung up on that now. I'm just going to, well, there's not really much more I could do with it. You can see the rubber mountings there, that's to absorb any shocks and stuff, because it's spinning at a very fast speed and everything's got to be kept target, and that will absorb any vibrations. These green rubber shock absorbers or absorbers. It comes off with a Phillips screwdriver. I think that whole metal assembly will come off. That's what will fit. This whole assembly will be held on to. They're just pop riveted on the other, pop fitted on the other side. Demonstrate it, I'll show you, but you can see it's just a rubber mount and it just seems to come out. I'll slide out or something, it just pulls out, it forms out. So they just slide out. These rubber bits fit in there, you're able to flex them in, flex them out. At the other end they're screwed in into there. So this is it, and you're left with this mechanism which was trying to demonstrate earlier. Hopefully it's kind of greasy as well, it's because there's moving parts. It's not the best way to just demonstrate it, but you see anyway, that's what's causing it to elevate. The motor for the drive, that was belt driven in fact. The belt went on there. Belt went on that pulley and on this, which would drive that mechanism, which will drive the elevator mechanism, the lift and lower. This effectively. Because a whole lot of things happen when you open the drawer, put the DVD in and close it. You can hear it working, and it's all the gears that are working. That mechanism. So there's not really much point in taking this apart. There's not really much to see. That's really all it is. It's all very integrated. It looks more interesting like that than to break into it, because you just see these bits all over the place. It doesn't really mean very much, but at least when you see it this way, it's showing the amount of engineering. You can see a little spring there, that would probably be an absorber spring. Now there was a spring movement, actually I thought there was a spring there, remember earlier on when it was moving this from side to side when it was all assembled. That would be the spring motion there, it'll be these rubber mounts. That's what would account for the spring in this. I thought there was an actual spring, but then a spring could in fact cause too much vibration, because it's a mechanical, it's a bit of metal, and it tends to, it might cause more vibration, whereas these rubber, special rubbery type materials, smoother than it's actually smoother than a metal spring, so it would be more suited for damping this assembly. But remember when I was moving it from side to side, it was going like that, and I thought there was a spring in it. Well, that will be the that will account for that springing motion. A metal spring, you'd probably hear it, and that would cause interference and cause all sorts of problems. If you could hear it, that's what sound is. It sounds vibration. So it'll be, and this is sensitive stuff, so you don't want any vibration. So they've used this kind of spongy like material because it's softer. Well, I'm not gonna take this apart. It just won't be much point. You can see everything anyway. Well, there's not much point in taking that apart, but you could. The laser. But anyway, that's the laser eye, the laser head, and that will slide along there to read the disc. And well, that's about. Oh yeah. Before I forget, I'm gonna. Well, I said I'm gonna break inside this liquid crystal display. And also, actually no, I'll do that next. Then I'm gonna remove these apart, get inside them. So. Put it away so I don't forget. To break into this, it's a non-serviceable part. I think I'm just going to go brutal. I'll just drive this big screwdriver into it and just sort of wedge into it. I'll hit it with a hammer and use a bit of brute force. I'll burst my way into it and just see what's in there. Landing on it with one foot, and I've got the screwdriver here. I'm just going to try and maybe strike it there, and I'll hit the top of the screwdriver with this hammer, and I'll see if I could get into this box at the edge here. I've wrenched it off the board. This is on the back of the display. Now I can't get into it from the side. I try to preserve as much as I can, so it looks like I'm going to have to go in a bit further to get into this. Right, so I use snips as well. Now when you're using snips, you apply a tremendous amount of mechanical advantage on the end of them, a lot of pressure, and in doing so things go flying. So really you should wear goggles. Now I closed my eyes and I looked the other way because bits did go flying. These bits could still pierce through your eyelids if things sharp enough and with enough force could go through your eyelids. So you really should wear goggles if you're doing this kind of shit. But I'll use brute force to get into it. It's not really revealing an awful lot. It's not a lot of excitement. I can't really get into it. It just seems to be, it's just destroying it. That's all it is, and just showing this. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I might give it another snip along there just to see if anything else could be revealed. I'm going to just leave it because I've hit it with a screwdriver hammer to try and break it. It's actually solid. It's not revealing any more than what it already is. There isn't going to be much more revealed. It's just destroyed it really, but it's not showing. This is all resin coated. It's all sealed in. So I've attempted it. Not much to see. But I did give it a shot. So I could probably get these lightweight covers off and reveal what's inside the tuning circuits, like the input for the auxiliary antenna and this cartilage. I'll maybe get that. Well, there's not much in the back of that one, but I'll get inside this one first. Right, I got the cover off, side cover. That's revealing all the coils of wires, probably a quartz or something, I don't know. There's a lot of tuning stuff. I could get the other cover off on the other side and see what's on the other side of that circuit. I suspect it'll just be soldered, but I'm going to know for sure when I remove it. Right, I've opened the other side of this up. That's kind of what I suspected I would see. Circuit boards, a couple of microchips. Very intricate actually. Very fine wiring. Right, I've just had a thought. I'm going to change the resolution on my camera to a bit of a finer one. My mate showed me actually that there's extra functions on this phone that I wasn't even really aware of. But I'm not going to mess around with this because the app that I used to edit videos probably wouldn't handle the extra quality, so I'm just going to stick with the same one. I think that should be clear. You should be able to see the numbers on that. So that's what I've been using all the time anyway. So yeah, you could read the numbers. You could even get the colour codes to the resistors if you pause it, if you want to. I mean, there's a lot to read. But that's on the input for the antenna. So I'm going to remove the back off the SCART set. I'll try and get this off and see what's in there as well. Just peeled the back off. It just seems to be like how it would meet the pins. Will meet up with the pins on the board. It's shielded with this aluminium cover. The other ones came off by prying these clips off at the top. This one again, I had to pry it, but it seems to also be wedged under there. Probably remove it completely actually. It's like it's maybe been soldered or earthed or something. There's a solder mat. So the bottom of that case is welded, spot welded, well, not spot weld, but solder welder. It's maybe to, I don't know, take static out perhaps, I don't know. But it's fixed on, weld, spot solder onto the there. That's why it's not coming off completely very well. I'm not going to bother breaking it off totally. You can see what's at the back of it anyway. So there, shows you that. What else? No, I think that was pretty much it. I'll just put all this in a nice neat orderly fashion and just sort of go through all of them again, just as a kind of summary. Have we got anything? I'm not going to touch this again too much because I'm not quite sure about that substance. And it just reminds me of something I've seen on a magnetron in a microwave oven. The magnetron which generates the microwaves, it's got a sort of similar material, brass-like or gold-like material. And I heard that the stuff in the magnetron is hazardous if it comes into contact with your skin if you break it. So that reminded me of it, so I'm not sure. I didn't want to mess around with it. I went and washed my hands, and I'm going to avoid touching that. Okay, so I've got everything put into an orderly fashion on the pacing table, and I will go around the parts just to give you a summary of what's been taken apart of that DVD recorder. Okay, so I've sort of tidied it up a little bit. Right, I'll start with the casing. So I got that's where the hard drive was presumably fitted. The rubber mounts to absorb any shocks so it doesn't disturb the hard drive. It's a metal top lid. It's just the top cover. It's the bottom cover, or the actual chassis should I say. That's the main structure of the setup. It's pressed steel, probably galvanised pressed steel, folded as well. That's the front panel, plastic, with the buttons, push rods come through, door flap for the DVD drawer to come out. It's just the buttons that you actually press, push rods that make contact with the circuit board here, which is the display, which has the display on it, or had the display on it. The display was there. As you know earlier, I broke into it to try and see inside. Soldered on with a multitude of legs on the bottom, it just fits on like such. The buttons that you press on the front push these push rods, which make contact with these buttons, which are actually on the circuit board. And that circuit board is connected up to all the rest of the circuitry via this ribbon wire. And there's probably a few other connectors as well that may have been on there, I can't remember. But, there's so many. You've got the back plate that fell on the floor. I took a series of still photos of all this. That's the back panel. So that's mainly all the casing stuff. That circuit board goes in with the buttons at the front. This is some of the circuit boards that were further inside the machine. Not 100% sure. Actually, that's the mains power. That'll be the main high voltage side. 250 volt AC. That's your the flex for the plug, or the other end of that. The other end of that lead. That there plugs into that bit. But it's a heavy plug because it's got to take the voltages, mains voltage, but that goes in there anyway. So that's like a transformer, power supply if you like. So that's the power board, that'll be the high voltage side. This is like the tuner circuits in the sort of the tuner bit. I would assume this would be through all the tuning circuits. So the leads go into, you connect all your leads to the back, which goes through the back plate. I can't remember what way it was now. Is it that way? Yeah, it was that way. That's right, it's not in like as such. So that would have went on. Obviously, it was all fixed to the chassis, but this is just showing you where it corresponds with the back plate. So you can recognise that, but behind that it's all this. So that I showed you earlier. This is the other circuit board. I'm guessing this will be all the decision stuff, all the main brains of the whole thing. This will run everything, I guess. This will be the main circuit, the main motherboard, microprocessor. There's no point breaking into that. I've done one before. You just see nothing, just black. You just see just black, just the material. It's hard to break into anyway. and it's microscopic, so you wouldn't really see it. It's a whole silicon chip. You need a microscope to see anything of worth recognising. But if you break into that, it's just a mess. You won't see much with the naked eye. There's no anything exciting in there. There's no genies or magicians that come running out, or any brain cells. That's the main brain anyway. Nothing exciting to see if you break into it. It's a microprocessor, and the name implies it's microscopic. That's why everything's so small these days. You won't see anything with your naked eye. It's a printed circuit board anyway inside. It's like a miniature circuit board. It's etched on. It's microscopic, obviously, but it's just like a series of lines. You could watch videos and know what's inside them, but it looks, I guess, like a very miniature circuit board. Just a maze, basically, of lines everywhere. Look through it on a microscope, powerful microscope. But anyway, I assume this circuit board, this will be the motherboard, the main brain. This will run the whole thing. This will be all the decisions of the whole thing will be controlled, I guess, with this board. Every other board will have its own task. Like this will be for the buttons on the display. That will handle all the power stuff. That will handle the tuning stuff. That will be the main brain, the main centre. That's the main hub, if you like. It's just the motherboard. That's my guess anyway. These circuit boards are part of the laser assembly. That will control all the signals from the disc. That will process it to a degree. I don't know. There'll be processing operations going on anyway. There'll be need for this circuit board. It's the DVD. It does the record and playback. So there'll be signals off the disc with the reflection of the laser. It'll have to be processed, and then it'll work in conjunction with this, obviously. But this is housed with all that. Control the motor speed and all the rest of it, and the position of the laser head. That's the laser head itself. It slides up and down there. That's where the laser comes out. That's my guess, and 99% certain that's where it will come out. That's the runners for it. The motor there will turn this worm gear, which will cause that to slide along these rails. And these are dampers to avoid any vibration, because that's very delicate when it's in use. This is just the covering, the shielding to stop any interference. Aluminium, stainless steel, probably aluminium actually. Light enough for aluminium, soft. It'll reflect any interference signals, because you don't want any interference with all this fine tuning, all this delicate electronics. That'll cause problems. So they shield it with this. And behind these shields is a plastic composite. Well, that's the tray for the disc to go on, by the way. DVD, you'll be familiar with that. DVD goes on there, and that goes back. This composite top plastic will be, so it cases everything in, encases it. And this is magnetic. And I think that hub bit there will go in line with the hub with the motor. And sandwiched between that will be the disc. Something like that anyway, I'm not sure, and as I say, no expert, no idea. Just using what I think, don't quote me. That's a cooling fan. Self-explanatory, it just cools. This was near the heat sink. There was a heat sink on one of these boards now. Where did that go? Yeah, the heat sink was on this power board. So I'm assuming that'll be like an amplifier. It'll generate heat. The motor was close by that when it was in situ on the chassis. The fan motor, rather. The fan was close by this. Obviously that'll get hot, and the transformer will get quite warm as well. This will be warm because it's the high voltage side, and it's got these transistors as well. Heavier duty transistors. Because the high voltage side comes in on this board. So this is the bit of the front. Circuit board that's responsible for that bit there. So that went under. Yeah, that sort of went in like such. So that would be the cover. You just the AV front connectors, and then from that it connects directly into the circuit board. And from the circuit board, it's plug connector that connects to the rest of the assembly. so that circuit board connects up with all the rest of the circuits. But that's what was housed behind that flap there anyway. Right, oh, so you've also got like miscellaneous screws and fixtures, and you've got wiring harnesses, obviously to connect everything up electrically. You've got, all the screws so far have been Phillips, all different sizes mine, but Phillips so far have all been Phillips screws, and it holds together all a variety of whole multitude of parts. So Phillips screws, wiring harness, main flex, main lead for the voltage, plug that in, it goes into this. And I think that's about it really. I'll show you the other side of these boards. I've took still pictures of them anyway, so you just have a look at that and pause the video if you want to look at them in closer detail. That's it. So I've covered it, pretty much it. Okay, so that's as much as I could do with that. I've summarised it as best as I can. I've gave you my knowledge on it, and don't quote me, I'm not an electrical engineer, so this video is only for entertainment purposes only, and viewing purposes, that's it. So I've just showed you what's inside it. You can see what I showed you, and I told you what I thought the bits done and what they are, and I've pretty much finished with it, so I'm just going to tidy all these bits up and dispose of them responsibly. So I hope you enjoyed the video to see what else I put on my channel, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.